Yeah. Some of the best energy and commitment that we've seen across social media for NHS Change Day, in fact across the whole Change Day movement, have been some just fantastic grassroots campaigns and ideas that are really motivating and inspiring people, but also doing things that will make a palpable difference. And of all of the ones that we've seen this year, one of the most striking is the Whose Shoes campaign. And I'm absolutely delighted to be here with Gill and Ken from Whose Shoes. Gill, for people who aren't familiar with Whose Shoes, just tell them what the campaign's about.
Well, we've come buzzing really straight from a Whose Shoes workshop where we've just got whoever rocks up at the table sitting around talking to each other about things that matter. And today, obviously, we're theming it around issues to do with people living with dementia.
Yeah.
So I was absolutely delighted to work with not just Ken, also Chris Roberts, who've both got young onset dementia themselves and break every stereotype.
Yes.
And we've been talking to them and linking to my NHS Change Day pledge, which is to connect people together. Ken has met Chris for the first time. They're similar age, they're both bikers, and they've come together as friends.
Yeah.
And that's one of the best outcomes I can get.
Brilliant. It's all about making connections,
It's
isn't
all
it?
about making
So
connections.
there's one more connection that we've made just today.
And our pledge is to get people across the world linking up.
Yes.
To talk to each other and to make friends and to actually have a voice so that people with dementia can speak out in their own right.
Exactly.
As well as obviously the very important voice of carers and everybody else.
Exactly.
So it's a very inclusive philosophy.
Yeah.
And also to recognise the difficulties for managers, frontline staff, and get everybody to kind of drop the barriers.
Yes.
and get working together.
Yeah. Yeah. Ken, if I could ask you, just on a personal level, what does the Whose Shoe campaign, what does it mean to you?
It gives me a voice. It allows me to talk to people, raise awareness of dementia and the fact that dementia really isn't a death sentence, a mental death sentence. It doesn't change anything. You're still exactly the same person. And I think it's a very important message for people to appreciate, whether they're somebody with dementia or whether they're a carer or even a medical professional.
Yeah. And I understand you've got a particular idea, haven't you, about what should happen when before people leave hospital or a diagnosis, haven't you?
Yes. Well, when the doctor diagnoses you, he has a very small slot to tell you, and he will say to you, "I'm very sorry, Mr. or Mrs. whatever, you have dementia." And the answer you will say to him then is, "Well, what can I do?" And the doctor's saying, "Well, nothing." I think that's wrong, and I think a situation should be created whereby at that moment you're given the opportunity to go and have a chat, cup of tea with somebody who's living successfully with a condition, so that you still have some hope. You know your life isn't over. You can do things and have a nice cup of tea.
Yeah.
I think that could be wonderful.
Yeah.
And I will work to try and create a situation where that happens.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Ken has written a blog and he finds it really difficult reading and writing, and he's written his 12 very positive coping strategies that he uses, and they'll be individual to him, but they'll also share a message for other people for living well with dementia. How good is that?
Brilliant.
And it's on our blog page yesterday for NHS Change Day.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Okay, so we want everybody who's a Change Day supporter to go and read Ken's blog and just have an insight into something that is an amazing and growing problem across the country. Now, one of the things we'd also like to remind everybody is that Change Day pledging is open until the 31st of March, and of course anybody can go and join your pledge, can't they, Jill? And simply just show some support and solidarity. So thank you very much for all your help for 2014, and Ken, thank you very much for talking to us, and we very much look forward to building on it for 2015.
Brilliant.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
It's Gill here and Ken.
Hi there.
And everything that we do around Whose Shoes is informal. So we thought we'd do this WebEx as an informal conversation and see how it goes. So we're here live in Coventry. Can people hear us? So this is our pledge. You've seen the YouTube video, hopefully, and this is a lovely graphic that Sarah Spiz did for us, and I'd like to talk about the kind of global side of our campaign, and Ken's going to tell you more about the more local side of our campaign, but really it's a kind of pledge within a pledge. So the global side of our campaign is around the Dementia Alliance International, fantastic global network of people who have got dementia themselves, and everything that they do is by, for, and with other people living with dementia. And I'm very privileged that they've asked me to be an associate and to help support people, and obviously that's linking in incredibly well with my work with Ken Howard. So I went to Puerto Rico, and as part of our campaign, which seemed incredibly ambitious at the time, but since we made our campaign pledge back in March, I've presented 2 presentations at the World Alzheimer's Conference in Puerto Rico, and co-presenting with my Australian pal, Kate Swaffer, that some of you might follow on Twitter, and other people living with dementia, and actually met a lot of these people in real life. And we've got a slide that shows you the logo for the Dementia Action, the Dementia Alliance International. Can we show that slide? Oh, that's the Puerto Rico conference, which was absolutely brilliant, and so much energy at that conference with all the young students bringing music and dancing. And I was just sorry that Ken couldn't be there with me. So perhaps, Ken, you'd like to tell us about the kind of local aspects of our pledge and the key ideas that you've got around diagnosis and how that could be different.
I firmly believe that the 15-20 minutes following your diagnosis are absolutely crucial, and they can change the rest of your life if it's helped with properly. As in the video you've just seen, I firmly believe that you should be allowed to spend quiet time, if necessary, or talking time with somebody who's living well with dementia, so you can see firsthand that it really isn't a mental death sentence, that you can live well and you can do things. You can talk to them about important things like their home life, what they do, how things work, where they go shopping, what they like to eat, where they go to drink, what football team support, but definitely not about dementia. That shouldn't really be included in the conversation. It's there purely and simply so that people can get an understanding of what they will still be able to do for a long time if they're proactive about their condition.
Fantastic. And specifically, Ken, what happened to you? One of the things that, quite honestly, I'm most proud about in terms of my work and the work we've done together, I mean, sometimes people say, well, what are the outcomes? And sometimes outcomes like the starfish can be very small. And I think the day that I introduced you to Chris Roberts at the NHS Expo was pretty special.
Yeah, that was an amazing day. The whole day was wonderful. But the high point for me was when I met Chris. I've told Gill previously that I've never really been introduced to anybody who were similar to me with living with dementia. And so she introduced me to Chris. Now, Chris is a great guy. He is absolutely fantastic. And he's got similar interests to myself, similar age to myself. Obviously the same condition, although it affects us both in very, very different ways. And we formed this instant connection and bond. And it was amazing. I found myself talking about quite intimate things with him and he with me. To do with our condition that we find difficult talking to even with our partners. And at that point I thought it would be absolutely fantastic if this same opportunity was given to everybody who received a diagnosis. And so as a follow-on to the other work we're doing, we're trying to create this situation as well.
That's brilliant. And I think in terms of our slides, which are probably getting a little bit out of sync, the next slide is the Dementia Alliance International. So if we could have that one, please. And we've talked about the fantastic link we've got with them, and Ken's starting to get involved in webinars via Zoom, and we're having a few problems with technology.
Oh yes, always. And me, of course. It's a huge thing to actually talk to people who are extremely well known when you're joining a new group and knowing the group dynamics and how to go about it. So my first session with them is purely listening. Next time I will join in properly.
And I think that's not a bad way to join any group. But you know, I want Ken to know that he's got as much to contribute as anybody, and incredibly inspired by him. So our next slide, I think, is a photo of Chris and Ken together at NHS Expo, and myself and my lovely colleague and friend Dorothy, who is one of the best Who Shoes facilitators there is, and actually is here in Coventry, but not here today with us. So in terms of kind of the impact that we're starting to have, we've been doing some workshops down in Kent around dementia-friendly communities, which I'm absolutely thrilled with, and particularly the way it's been kind of handed over to local people, because for me it's all about the assets in the room. It's about enabling people to take power and control and do things for themselves. But we'll tell you more about that perhaps in a minute if there's time. But someone from the National Alzheimer's Society came along to our last workshop, and I think for both of us it's quite exciting potentially, because Ian McCreath came, and he came because he was very interested, and I'd already met with him, and he's going to be asking to run some sort of pilot Who Shoes project with the Alzheimer's Society, which is exciting. And also he was very, very interested in your pledge, wasn't he, Ken?
Oh yes, I think that would be absolutely fantastic if they looked at it, maybe piloted it, because the Alzheimer's Society is the biggest organisation really dealing with dementia, and they have amazing resources, fantastic people, and a whole raft of volunteers who are living with dementia, so they're ideally placed.
And we've been taking forward our at all our workshops, we take every opportunity, don't we, Ken, to tell people about the NHS campaign and the pledge.
Oh yeah, very, very loudly.
Very loudly. Until people get fed up. And also inviting them to make their own pledges. So I think the next slide is one of our workshops in Kent with somebody, a council, I think it was, standing up and making a pledge. Have we got the next slide? And this guy, lovely guy, come along to 2 or 3 sessions, and we've jumped on now. This is okay. So this is our one of our workshops in Kent. We have people there attending from the police, from local shops, from the WI, and we set out initially to make a graphic record of just the initial event, but the local people decided, Alison Waters and Sandra Springett, who've been absolutely amazing, decided that they wanted to learn graphic recording, and they produced a record for every session that we did, and are now using Prezi to kind of drill down to see what outcomes we're actually delivering against what people said needed to change. And what do you think about the graphic recording, Ken?
I love it. I have incredible difficulty now with reading and obviously writing as well. But the images in a graphic recording, I can read and I can understand. And I suspect it's probably similar for an awful lot of people who are living with the condition like myself. And maybe there's a whole new method of communication there that we didn't know about.
The next slide shows Ken actually at one of the Who Shoes workshops. So I love having Ken there, but I like to have everybody living with dementia, carers, get them sitting around the table with the chief executive, get them sitting to, as it happened in our workshop at NHS Expo, Ken, Becky Mulby from the University of Leeds Innovation Centre had a wonderful chat with Ken, and Ken had no idea who she was. It's just an interested person.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the glory of Who Shoes, the fact that you will sit next to somebody and it's irrelevant who they are. There's no badges, no titles. You're just people. And all I knew was he was a very dynamic, interesting person that I enjoyed talking to.
So again, we'll come back to her in a minute. So I think I've got slides in different places. But so here's Ken at a Who Shoes workshop. What does Who Shoes mean for you, Ken? What does it actually bring into your life?
Well, it gives me a voice. It allows me to speak and be listened to. People at the sessions, they listen to everybody, so obviously they listen to me. And it's fantastic to have this forum. And there's no hierarchy. Everybody is totally equal. And the game forces even quiet people who would rather sit and say nothing to talk. So everybody has to have a voice, and which is wonderful.
We talk about some quite difficult subjects, don't we?
Oh yeah,
fun, but
I mean, it's a very light-hearted approach, which means that you can approach difficult subjects without getting too upset or carried away with them. But it doesn't mean that the core message is treated like that.
and I'll come on again to fantastic opportunity we've got later in the year together to deliver a short session to the European Alzheimer's Conference. It happens to be in Glasgow, but I'm absolutely longing to introduce Ken to Helga Rohrer and other members of the European Working Group of people with dementia. And Helga's been a fantastic champion because she sees the tool and the approach as authentic and like Ken, really about listening to people and people having a voice. So, for example, at the conference in Malta that I did with them last year, we had Jeremy Hughes from the Alzheimer's Society sitting alongside Helga and other people, whoever they were in that particular group. I was going to say sitting around the table, but actually they were the table without the table, because it was actually pretty oversubscribed, which was good fun. So we've got Ken there at the workshop. We've talked about different things. Perhaps we can move on to the next slide. Now, I don't think the audio is going to work, is it, Paul? We could try it. This is a card taken directly from...
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. I'm running it through my desktop. If the sound would have played, it would be playing now. Unfortunately, we can't hear it, then no.
That's okay. We can live without sound. We have lots of things go wrong, don't we, Ken?
Yeah. Chaos is part of the game.
This is part of the Who's Shoes tool, the electronic version. And what we do is to take the voices of real people. Ken's got some cards in the game. This is my mate Kate Swaffer from Australia. But we also bring in managers, care providers, frontline staff who are colour coded and all saying quite powerful scenarios from their own perspective. So I'll read you this one, and imagine it's with an Australian voice. I want to make my own choices. As someone living with a diagnosis of younger onset dementia, I want to make my own choices. I don't want to go into a care home and be made to do activities that I hate, things like bingo that I've never played before. My biggest fear is that I would then be given medication being difficult if I didn't agree. Now, in terms of how that's used within a Who's Shoes workshop, there's all sorts of levels there. You could talk about how people would feel themselves going into a care home, what personally they might hate, the fact that it's all about choice and control, and actually, if you didn't want to do things in the first place, then why would you want to start doing them just because you're in a care home situation? So perhaps you could tell us, Ken, about your sartorial clothing shorts yesterday.
Yeah. We were privileged to be included in something at the Barbican yesterday, which was name dropping, which was a fantastic experience.
Name drop away.
And I was encouraged, or could I say bullied by Gill, into taking part in a Pecha Kucha session, which is awful. It is so difficult to do, but ultimately it's fantastic. I'm sure it was invented by the devil. That
wasn't.
No, I'm sorry. It basically is where you have 20 seconds to talk about 20 slides, and I'm afraid I tend to waffle, so it's very, very difficult for me to get the time down. But it seemed to be very well received, and people enjoyed our session, and they had an opportunity to see what the new dress code is going to be for all conferences next year, as I was modelling it.
And Ken was there in his shorts and promising us that if anybody tried to make him wear a suit on a hot day in June, there might be some challenging behaviour. And I think the key message behind that was just around choice. And if Ken's always worn shorts, then why would he suddenly wear what somebody else chooses for him to wear? So we've probably gone on too long about that. And if you go on to the next slide. So we weren't able to take, this was at NHS Expo. People might like to type in who came along to the Who Shoes workshop, because we didn't happen to have a photo of Ken and Becky, but we did snap these rather eminent people, and extra points if you get the guy who's got his back to us, because he's an important person in dementia circles. Have we got any prizes, Ken? I'm not sure.
I don't know. There might be sweet.
So, what's the next slide? So this is important. This is a graphic that was done at the beginning of our West Kent dementia-friendly programme. So a programme of 16 workshops. And Sandra Springett in particular and Alison Waters have been on a Prezi course that was completely unexpected at the beginning of the project, as was the fact that they did graphic recording for all the sessions. And I don't know if you've come across it, but perhaps you'd like to tell us about Prezi as a way of drilling down into, I think perhaps if I just say we're picking out key things on the graphic and trying to link them with what outcomes we're actually having and what impact we're having. But you love it as a way of recording, Ken.
I think Prezi as a way of navigating around. I think Prezi as a way of navigating around. Image driven. It's all image driven. It's very easy. And so it's very easy for me and people like me to use it. And you can navigate through a presentation by using the images. And you have menus under menus and menus, but as they're all images, it's very, very easy to navigate, and it's so effective, and it looks very slick.
And we're doing a lot about this as well, aren't we, Ken? So I think if we go on to the next slide, it's about quality of life. And perhaps Ken could tell us just a few things in terms of other things that you're doing alongside this part of the work that we're doing together. So things like the films we've made.
Yeah, I mean, you can absolutely really so much. I mean, I'm going to say encourage, but I mean, me into making 2 small films, which was quite an experience, very, very enjoyable. And she encouraged me to write a blog for her in Who Shoes sessions, which was no mean feat because I'd actually given up on writing. But I managed it, and it seems to be quite well received. I'm quite proud of it. I created all of the images myself because I was assured that if I carried on using the downloaded images off the internet, I could get them copyright infringement. So I spent an extra several weeks
and so could I.
Creating my own. Jill got me onto Twitter. I struggle with Twitter. It's very, very difficult. I find it like whole conversations, but I do like to make comments and be included. And it's a perfect forum for me because all the messages are quite short, so I can read them.
And really our network, I think, is the key thing through social media. I just thought it was such a shame to have someone like Ken, and I could go to an event and talk about Ken, people on the day would see him. Through social media, you're building your own network, aren't you, very powerfully?
Yeah. And the friends that I'm making now are really wonderful because they really don't mind when I can't remember the names when I see them there. Which is fantastic, really, because I don't know the names.
And I think in terms of our myth-busting program, the fact that Ken is doing all this communication and hopefully at least keeping neural pathways open and
creating new ones.
Yeah. And having some fun.
Yeah, and I am trying to design a website which is going to be truly event-centered. And I want to start with a pilot and ask people to contribute to it, make corrections about things I get wrong. So it can, through mutual cooperation, become something that is quite useful.
So we enjoy social media. I've got my In My Shoes guest blog series. So if anybody listening in wants to write a blog about any aspect of health, social care, dementia, that you're doing really good work in, then have a look at some of the blogs in the series and perhaps consider writing one. We've also set up a Pinterest board and using Haiku deck and all sorts of imaginative things. So if we go on to the next slide. So this was supporting really what Ken's just said. We always get out of sync with the slides, but who cares really? That's such an important one, staying involved in life and all the wonderful things you've talked about. So can we have the next slide, please? That's us on Twitter, so please follow us. I'm sure people doing the chat could link in and send us 1 or 2 tweets. Would be great, wouldn't it, Ken?
Yeah, I can't promise to answer you, but I'll do my best.
And enjoy them.
Yeah.
So next slide. So in terms of, we're now getting lots of opportunities to spread the word about our campaign pledge. This was a wonderful opportunity that I had earlier in the week to meet Samantha Jones, Chief Executive West Hertfordshire NHS Trust. Lovely, warm person, very, very open and transparent. And here we are, of all places, so honoured to be standing outside and visiting the Cape Ranger suite. Lovely in all respects, and we've mentioned 1 or 2 other opportunities that we've had, such as yesterday and the Alzheimer's conference in Glasgow, and we're hoping, but we don't know yet, to have a session perhaps at the Quality and Safety Forum in London next year, and to talk about our NHS Change Day campaign, and hopefully some more outcomes by then, because it's next April. It's a long time, isn't it?
That'd be fantastic.
And to you, Ken, and that's an interesting point. That's a long time ago in terms of the urgency of your...
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that happens when you are given a diagnosis like that is that everything is in favour.
I mean,
I know
one of the
now today I'm fine and I'm doing really, really well. But I honestly don't know how next year is going to be, and I don't know what I'm going to be capable of doing next year. So I truly hope that I can do things now and maybe make a change for other people, make their lives better before it's too late for me.
But in the meantime, Ken is now Who's workshops on. Can we have the next slide and give people an idea? Here he is.
Yeah. That's actually in the States on Harley when I went to Bike Week quite a long time ago now. But I haven't been very keen on having my photograph taken, and I've managed to avoid it for a long, long time till very recently.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
This is the one of Ken's films, and if people like to look, I've published a blog that I've been holding back really for the NHS Change Day celebration today. Very important part of Ken's story about how he basically recovered. That's the word, isn't it? After your diagnosis,
yeah.
Got your life back.
Yeah, I mean, it is possible. My message is one of hope. I mean, and really you can. You need help and support by other people to fill in gaps that you can have. But if that happens, there's no reason at all why you can't have a long, active life and extend your thinking life, which is what you really want to do.
And I think that runs into the next slide. Very key message from Ken that diagnosis of dementia doesn't have to be a mental death sentence. And you built that into your film, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, it is everything I'm doing, trying to make people realise that, because when you're actually given the news that you do have some form of dementia, it does feel as if you've been given this mental death sentence. And all of the media and everything else goes to reinforce that. So we really do have to change an awful lot of things to make people feel better and empower them enough to actually take a more active role in their own lives.
Yeah. So if you could go on to our next slide, please. Talk amongst yourselves, Ken. There we are. So I think we've got Ken there. It was Ken's birthday last week. Happy birthday, Ken.
Thank you.
And the swinging 60s start here, I think, don't they?
Yeah. Life begins at 60.
And that was a very nice gesture, a nice touch by Sandra, who did that wonderful graphic at our workshop that we did together in Kent last week.
I was incredibly embarrassed, but it was lovely.
No, you mustn't be embarrassed. If people want to play, there's a children's book game called Where's Wally. If you look closely at our Get Graphics, they started to become Where's Ken, didn't they?
I was slightly larger than Wally.
So I think probably we've completely overrun. It's time for some questions and answers, is it? So we'll have to get back to them.
Oh, hello. Jackie back here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you hear Ken?
Hi, Ken. Yes, hi, Ken. Hi, Ken and Jill. What a fantastic presentation. Thank you to both of you. And you made that sound so effortless, and the work that you do just sounds so effortless, as though you kind of just get up in the morning and you go off and do all these amazing things, and you just go back home and then you start another day. It just was absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much to both of you. But
thank you.
I know, yeah, you did. You just made it sound so easy. So first of all, I'll just check whether there is anybody who wants to ask a question of Jill or Ken. I have a few questions. But
if I could say, Jackie, that Ken calls us the Pete and Dad of social care and health, and I prefer that to Laurel and Hardy, really.
You're absolutely amazing, the pair of you. Fantastic.
We get on well, don't we?
Has anybody got? Yeah. No, you can see, and I can see the chemistry and the kind of just the connection is just absolutely fantastic to listen to both of you. It really is. Is there anybody who wants to ask a question? Oh, I've got Pippa Kelly. Are you raising your hand?
I am, but can you hear me?
Oh, no. Yes.
Yes.
We can. Please go ahead.
Okay. Actually, I haven't got a question, but I just wanted to say that I have met Ken and Gill, and I think they're the most fantastic team. I think they complement each other perfectly, and I think that Ken is so much more than just an ambassador. He just shows absolutely that it's possible to live extremely well with dementia for some people, and I think his ideas are brilliant. And so Ken he's just a walking example of how if you turn to the people living with dementia, you will get probably the best answers.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
And I think, for me, I suppose my little company, calling it originally Nutshell Communications, and it's kind of evolved and become Who's Shoes. But I've kept the company name because I think what Pippa's just said sums up what I'm trying to do, to take complicated stuff and make it simple. And someone like Ken has got really kind of simple but very, very effective ideas, and you keep coming around to this phrase, it's not rocket science. We've got one thing we kind of toyed with doing, solutions to help people with dementia for under £5. That was your idea, wasn't it, Ken?
I really think that would be an interesting thing for debate.
Like your keys by the front door?
Yeah. I mean, for example, I have a photograph of me putting keys in my pocket that is taped to the back of my front door, so I never forget my keys. I have a hook on the wall for my keys, so I never lose my keys. I get my keys misplaced because my family take them, but I never lose my keys. And silly things like that, which are very, very expensive, but very, very worthwhile, very useful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great, Ken. I was going to. Is there anything else you want to ask, Pippa?
Sorry, can you hear me again? This is the first time I've ever done this, and I'm very un-IT.
And me.
You are doing a fantastic job. Trust me, you are doing a really good job.
No, I think that was just, that's just another example of how you cut through all the sort of rhetoric and theory, and you talk to somebody who really knows what it's all about because they are living it. And so it can be simple, it can be cheap, but it's incredibly effective.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the things I was, as I was listening, you said right at the beginning about bringing hope to people with dementia. I think Ken, you said that, and how important that has been to you. Just bringing hope. Can you just sort of tell us a bit more about how when you feel that, what does that feel like? And when people do that, what
Well,
does it mean?
it means everything. I mean, if you have no hope, then you're hopeless. So you have no expectations, and you don't really expect to achieve it. But once you have hope, you achieve things, do things, become more, and it's all about becoming more, and maybe even changing who you are a bit. I mean, I in my previous existence, I was putting sewers in drains. I would never have dreamt of speaking in public, but now this is my new existence. So this is what hope can do, and helping people.
Fantastic. Could I ask you just to come a little bit closer to the microphone? Both of you. Yeah,
Is that better?
That's brilliant. Oh, that's much better. Yes, that's much better.
Sorry.
Yeah, and I wondered. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's brilliant. Jill, I was just wondering, could you? I mean, Ken's given us some fantastic examples, and I just wondered, Jill, whether you could just give us, just like a little hint of, just one simple action that, or more, because I know you've given us a lot already, but one simple action where people have been shown hope, or been given hope, and what that looks like.
Actually, you have. At the Kent conference, we met a guy who's been dealing with his mum. He didn't know how to deal with her. He didn't know how to deal with dementia.
It was fantastic.
And it was an amazing thing. He came to 5 sessions.
With his sister and his daughter, 3 of the family members came to 5 different sessions.
And we managed to make him feel more comfortable with looking at his mum and how to treat her as a real person rather than some fragile little thing in the corner. And that was a fantastic outcome.
They literally started and they said that they'd come along to the sessions really feeling very lost, that they didn't know how to, they loved their mum to bits, but they talked about being impatient with her and being embarrassed by her. And actually they got somebody with learning disabilities in the family, and they couldn't see why they hadn't made that kind of mental leap between the patience and tolerance that they very naturally exercised with this family member with learning disabilities. And then when they realised that their mum really was just still the same person, the key message that really comes through the Who Shoes workshops and reinforced obviously by speaking to Ken. They had a long chat with you, didn't they, as well? But this was at the end of the 5th workshop. And to see them going away saying, now we feel confident to look after mum. And it wasn't as if we told them a lot of facts about dementia. We hadn't told them statistics. We just let them talk to normal people and have conversations around just different aspects of just a variation between different people. And, you see Ken sitting here today talking so fluently and turning up on his Harley. I was on the back. But actually, we've got some notes here, and in terms of Ken's reading and writing, it's something that's difficult, and we're working through, how best to kind of develop that together. And different people have got very different issues and problems, haven't they?
We're all very, very different. How to deal with it. You didn't know how to deal with dementia. And that was a fantastic.
We've got some feedback at the moment. Is anybody asking anything?
I'll ask another question. Is there anything either in the chat, if Rosanna and Kathy want to come in and mention anything? If there isn't, then I've got another question. But just Kathy and Pippa, if you let me know. But I just wanted to ask, what's the kind of the most challenging thing that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis?
Most challenging thing? Cooking a nice meal, making my wife happy with what I've cooked. That's a challenge.
Is that to do with your condition, Ken, or is that?
Oh, certainly, yeah. but there is one thing my condition does not allow me to do, and that's the ironing. I'm sorry, that's completely out of the frame. I can't do that. Well,
I somehow thought it might be.
I didn't want to say that, Jill.
But on a more serious note, in terms of the kind of myth-busting stuff that we're doing, I'm pushing the barriers, I guess, and I think, you know, your whole healthcare school for radicals, and it's encouraging us all to kind of just get a little bit bolder, which is fantastic. And at the very first workshop in Kent, I heard one or two sort of quite interesting conversations, and I decided to set up this kind of Mythbusters thing. And I said, apparently, I didn't realise this, people with dementia can't peel potatoes. And there was this kind of silence, really. And then we asked what people in the room, what else people with dementia can't do. Well, apparently they couldn't go out on their own, and they couldn't choose what clothes they wore, and so on. And we used these, didn't we, in the Pecha Kucha that we did yesterday, to kind of bounce off each other. So Ken and the potatoes, what did you say?
Well, I just didn't realise that, so I'll have to start using rice instead of potatoes.
Well, I'm very impressed that you were able to do a Pachuca presentation.
We did actually cheat a bit, Jackie, because it was my idea, and we had the other 4 presenters doing it properly with 20 seconds on auto time.
Well,
should we admit to that? We didn't quite do it right, did we? But
Jill had a clicker. Realise that, so I'll just have to start using rice.
You had a go. That's the main thing. You had a go.
It was within the spirit, wasn't it?
It was
brilliant.
Absolutely.
It was brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the event was lovely. And it was really nicely included.
Yeah.
And to work alongside other innovators, we had 5 presenters, and all of them were fantastic in terms of both the presentation and the work that they're doing.
Yeah, yeah.
Small people making a big difference.
Yeah, and
absolutely, and that's what it's all about. Absolutely.
It is, yeah.
So, Kathy,
and working together.
Yeah, absolutely. Kathy, did you want to just share some thoughts?
Yeah, just some feedback from the chat room for Ken. Ken, you're being described as inspirational, and your blog's very popular, and people think your ideas are simple, straightforward idea. Newly diagnosed dementia patients meeting with patients who are successfully living with the illness and their families. Great idea. So very positive support.
Fantastic. And Ken, I would say thank you for that, Kathy. Ken, I would say that you embody hope. You really do embody hope. And you know, I just think it's absolutely pleasure having both of you.
Lots of people doing the same as me. They just haven't been given the opportunity to speak.
Yeah,
and I
understand that.
I think for me that's probably one of the best outcomes. I want to find more Kens, and I actually put quite a big challenge out to Kent for these workshops we were doing, to find local people and make sure that we've got some people at every workshop. And I don't mind when they identify themselves. You know, they don't need to tell the group that they're someone living with dementia, but we know they're there in the room. And we've had people coming along from the Age UK day centres, and some people with quite advanced dementia just enjoying being included and contributing however they want to. It's been fantastic.
Fantastic. Any last words from any of the participants?
Thanks for letting me talk. Yeah.
And Ken and Jill, do you just want to give us your last words as we finish?
It really was brilliant. I mean, the event was lovely, and it was really nice to be included.
Yeah, good partnership. I don't know who's getting most out of it. It's fantastic. It's part of the work I'm doing, obviously, with people like Kate and you know, people with all sorts.
Yeah, and working together. Thank you.
Well, I just wish you both well.
I'm not unique. I'm just one person, you know, and there are lots of people doing the same as me. They just haven't been given the opportunity to speak.
Yeah. So I'd just like to wish you both all the best, and just to say to just keep up the partnership, really, and to thank you very much. So can we just give a round of applause on your WebEx, on your feedback to Jill and Ken. Thank you so much. It's been absolutely brilliant. And I'm going to give you some laughter as well, because you made me laugh as well.